You're doing great.
All right. And we are
Nice slate work.
That was wonderful. I've always wanted to do that, and I've never done it.
Right?
I've never done it. Can I? Oh my god.
Oh my god, it's so good.
She's never gotten a day.
Yes, go for it.
How do you give her a note? Are you like faster?
It was terrible. So it was a moment that was so nothing. It was like her knocking on a door, Steve Martin opening the door for a party, and her coming in. And we did it 3 times, and I'm like, we shouldn't be doing this more than 3 times with Meryl Streep knocking on the door and coming in. And yet, at the 3rd time, I was like, oh no, I have to give her a note. Hi, Liz Meriwether.
Hi.
I'm very excited.
Wait, do we have to say our names?
Aren't we saying our names? I thought we were supposed to say
I'm
our
Liz
names.
Meriwether.
Hi, Liz Meriwether. I'm John Hoffman.
Hi, John Hoffman.
Hey. This is so natural. Hey, so
We belong in front of the camera. That's what today is about.
that's why we're here.
Yeah.
Because we're very comfortable and at ease and not at all comfortable at a monitor.
Yes.
Watching other people
Right.
who know how to do this.
Giving notes.
But anyway, hi.
Hi. Where are you from?
Okay. 2 places, kind of a mix.
Okay.
So I was born in Brooklyn, where we are now. And not
Were
near
you born
Dublin.
under a train?
We're not born under a train. I was born in like a mix. My father was Bay Ridge and my mother was Flatbush.
Oh, okay.
But very quickly, those 2 dyed-in-the-wool Brooklynites moved with me and my sister to Ohio. And so I was like raised in Ohio,
I didn't know
central
that.
Ohio. But aren't you
I'm from Michigan.
Yeah.
I didn't know you were from Ohio.
Yeah, I know. Well, okay, so
feel
I found
very
out Michigan
connected to you.
recently.
How old were you when you were in Ohio, and how did Ohio affect you?
Deeply. Let me brace myself on the side of the chair.
Yeah.
No, I loved Ohio. It was a very, like, Michigan, Ohio. I don't know how you felt, but I'm dying to know. But I had a very clear mix. So my parents were like, you are not a hick. They don't know what veal is here. This is like not a place you're from. But really, like, very aware that New York was the place.
Yeah.
In my mind. Now this is what I know about you, was Miami to Michigan. Am I wrong?
Yeah. I was born in Miami, and then when I was 5, we moved to around Detroit, Grosse Pointe, and then moved to Ann Arbor like when I was 10. Is this what people want to hear about?
No one. We have definitely exhausted.
When did you decide you wanted to, be a player, be an entertainer, a man of the...
Well, I mean, I kind of don't think it was anything but like the just natural like inclination to lean in. But like the first thing I remember was like, I think it was like 6 years old. And I was, this is embarrassing. I saw The Nutty Professor with Jerry Lewis, the old one.
Yeah.
And I then took it upon myself to gather up my friends and produce a production of The Nutty Professor at my friend Steve Sinato's house. And we performed it.
Did he know you were coming?
No, I just came in. Hey, Steve. We've got some friends.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was very like,
That sounds amazing.
To Kill a Mockingbird kind of thing. But like, yeah, we went to his house and my mother was working at a law firm. So all the secretaries at the law firm came on their lunch hour to watch our production of The Nutty Professor. So that kind of started everything.
Yeah.
I kind of look at those moments. Do you have a moment like that when you were young and you...
My mom is an artist, and we watched like every Alfred Hitchcock movie before I was like 12, she took us to museums. I mean, it was just all like theater. Les Mis came through Detroit like multiple times, and I was like obsessed with Les Mis, and I would act it out, and I'm like pretending to be like a French whore.
At what age?
Like 7 or 8 or 9. I don't know. Yeah.
French whore age.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bonjour, sailor. whatever.
I know.
Anyway, but like, yeah, I mean, I went to Interlochen, which is this arts camp.
Yeah, of course.
And I
Yeah.
I was 8, and I took a theater class, and I'd never done anything like that. And I remember I had a small rule, but I said like he's such a nitwit or something, and like everyone laughed. And it was that drug.
That was the
It was
moment.
the drug where you're like, oh, I don't know what it is. It's like power. What is it? It's not great. I mean, it's not like a good part of you, but like it's the thing that you like need. You need that laughter. You do think it's a good part of you?
I do.
Okay,
I totally do,
right.
because it's also like it's the combo. It's a combo plate of like, oh, I got like built up by that feeling.
Yeah.
It's also like you made people laugh. Like, I think that's a
yeah.
very generous thing to do. I think that idea that like, if you have that,
Yeah.
that's like, oh, I can give that and get that all at the same time. So that's the drug, right? I think it's two-sided.
Power?
Yeah, all of that. Power's okay.
Yeah, in a way.
Yeah, I mean, anything at that age, I think anything that doesn't make you feel losery.
Weird. Yeah, weird and alone.
Yeah, all of that. So if you make the connection, that's how it felt for me too. Because I mean, it's so fraught growing up, and especially like, well, I don't know, Midwestern with theatrical sensibilities.
Yeah, right.
So, you're very much in a place of how's it going to go for me here?
Yeah. I had the same thing though, where I was like, I have to get to New York. I have to get to New York. And
Oh, you did?
I just wanted to be a playwright. Actually at that point I wanted to be an actor. I wanted to act.
Now,
And
did you were an actor for
I acted in college, and I acted a little bit right after college. And I just like the lifestyle of it. I have so much respect for actors. Like,
Me too.
I couldn't handle the process of auditioning and getting rejected and kind of being able to just like keep moving forward with that. It was just, and then writing, it was like I could do it whenever I had time. When I could always do it. You can always get up and write. And like acting, you have to kind of wait for someone to give you that opportunity. And so I don't know, I just like I loved writing when I started doing it and once I got into it.
I totally. Now, did you, like, I was an actor as well for a little while, same amount of time kind of. And I was doing it. I sort of segued into writing because I wasn't getting cast in anything I wanted to invite people to. So I was like, well, I'm working so hard to get in things that are challenging to like love and to be proud of. So I was like, well, let me write something for myself. And then that's quickly segued. But I feel like they were kind of conjoined. They were sort of, I was writing through an actor's eye.
Yeah.
And I feel like still that part of me is what makes me feel a little bit confident when I'm talking to actors on set, when I'm talking to...
That's so interesting, because I think you've worked with the most number of unbelievable actors in one show.
It's stupid.
It's amazing.
No, it's completely...
So that kind of makes sense. Like, you're really comfortable around...
I can fake it, okay, I think, truthfully. I mean, there are times when I've definitely been like, what am I doing? This is insane who I'm talking to. Yeah, no.
Like, it's insane who I'm giving notes to. Like,
yes.
Yeah.
No, I had to give Meryl Streep a note.
I mean, that's like, talk me through like every moment of that. Like,
oh God.
How do you give her a note? Are you like faster?
It was terrible. So first of all, she does like pop that bubble around her.
Yeah.
Very quickly when you're with her. She's like an actress from Jersey is how she relates to herself. And I know. And I'm like, okay, no one's feeling that way. And we're all like, oh, well. Oh. So I was directing her, which is insane. But I was directing her, and there was a moment I was like, oh no, this is the first day we're shooting. And it was a moment that was so nothing. It was like her knocking on a door, Steve Martin opening the door for a party, and her coming in. And we did it 3 times, and I'm like, we shouldn't be doing this more than 3 times. So Meryl Streep knocking on the door and coming in. And yet, at the 3rd time, I was like, oh no, I have to give her a note. And so I said, we're going to go one more, right? So we have to go one more. And then I kind of like quietly made my way out toward her. And I said, and she said, no, whoa, tell me, please. And I said, well, okay, this is not his apartment, so you're not expecting him to be answering the door. And she took a pause and she went, I'm an asshole. And then She went to the door, and I watched back at the monitor again, and she made like a symphony of being surprised by Steve Martin at the door and making her way into the apartment. It was like, okay, that's crazy.
That's
Yeah. So that was my special first note to Meryl Streep. But yeah, it's ridiculous. Now please, I mean.
But I think it's so important to have acted, or at least to have some experience up there with people looking at you doing, I do feel like that really formed who I am as a writer. Just also doing theater in New York. Like I had a play, Hedatron, that was a robot Hedda Gabler, or it was
It was a girl in Michigan whose mom is abducted and taken to the rainforest and forced to perform Hedda Gabler by robots.
That is so good.
And it was wild, and Alex Timbers directed it, and it was like this, it was my second play in New York. I actually went to every performance of it. I think we had 20 performances or something, and I went to every one, and that is another really formative moment for me, because I could hear when the audience leaned in and lost interest and laughed and didn't laugh, and that was so important later on when I'm writing comedy and trying to guess what's funny and trying to have some sense of an audience, or some sense of what an audience what it feels like in front of an audience, was really important to me.
That's such a good and I think that seems to me specific to you in a good way that points to what I feel like I've seen of your work, which is that some people would go 20 times because they're enamored with their work and they want to see the audience, but no, very few people will go and think what can I do? How am I listening and learning and shaping it? And that to me is so impressive, because that's the sort of difference between sort of always wanting to make it better and listening and learning. And then that makes perfect sense to me as far as just segueing to doing writing for television or writing for, leading a writer's room or anything like that. You're always sort of doing that combination of listening and
adjusting. You're just constantly adjusting. Once we cast the
roles, forget anything you thought about the character, just write to that actor. Because that's what television is. It's especially a long running show. It's it has to be that actor's character, has to be that actor. And that is it is this kind of amazing thing about television is you do have to adjust. You're with these particular actors for years, and you learn what they can do, and you're just in a kind of constant conversation with them on the stage, seeing what they're doing and then bringing it back to the writer's room and then writing. I did love that, where it's it does feel like this kind of, I don't know, it's exciting. It's you're really building it with this other person.
And I think, I don't know if you feel this way, but I struggle constantly to feel I'm always heading up a hill to trying to get up to the top of some hill that I'll never reach. But in my mind, if I the only way I can feel confident about doing both the writing and directing or show running or anything like that with any of these shows is if I feel I know in my bones some personal relationship to the story I'm writing.
Yeah.
And then I feel okay, I'm
I just can't do it.
I'm the best person to do it.
Yes.
I won't do it all the time.
It's very black and white with me. I either can write it or I absolutely can't.
That's right, right?
I have to have a way in.
And the way in, right? Wasn't New Girl wasn't New Girl just straight from your experience?
It was based on my life. A lot of the marketing was she's just like Jess. And I don't know, but I think I'm more like Nick, but but it was, it was it was the age that I was, it was, the people that I knew. And I'm so grateful that that was the case, because I ended up having to do, hundreds of episodes. And it's you have to go
That's it.
But what is your way into Only Murders? Have you killed people? Are you?
Many murdered.
Sorry.
That's gonna, if that gets out now.
No, but I'm like, I'm
Only
interested.
in buildings.
Like, how did it come apart? Like, apart? No, how did it come
came
together?
apart, and we will learn very quickly how it came apart. But
Tell me
right
how it
now,
came together and apart.
I just got lucky. Dan Fogelman
Yes.
and Jess Rosenthal asked me because I was working on Grace and Frankie. So I was working with two legends on that show, among many others. And so I think it made me an easy mark for, Steve Martin and Martin Short. Like, okay, maybe he can do okay with that.
Yeah.
And I had always wanted, because of my story of, New York to Ohio, like I had a very romantic view of New York.
Yeah.
And so I'd always wanted to do a show in New York if I could. And so, and then I was a fan of Rosemary's Baby. And I was like, ooh, apartment buildings are interesting to me.
Yes.
And no one had done like anything. And so this idea landed in my lap with Steve Martin, who I'd never met. And Dan and Jess introduced to me at a dinner. And
So
I had
it was
to pitch.
his idea, or
It was Steve's idea.
like doing a murder?
A murder mystery with three people, himself, Martin Short, and somebody else. We didn't know who the third wheel was going to be there. In New York, in an apartment building, and they all love true crime. So then I sort of sat down with him and I said, well, if we do a podcast that you're producing at the same time while investigating, that was the thing that made me comfortable, because I immediately saw Steve had said, I want to play an actor and Marty can play a director of theater. And then I was like, okay, now I know how to write the show.
Yeah.
Because I felt like, okay, I can see how all that works. And it's kind of in my bones that way too.
Yeah.
More importantly, it was like their voices were in my head from all of the things I'd seen them do.
Yeah.
So it made it much easier to imagine. Like, and I just thought I could have a shot at writing something they might like. And then Selena Gomez made this magical thing between the three of them. And when that happened, when Selena joined and it became this sort of trio that no one could see coming, because it makes no sense.
I like to think that Steve Martin came to you and was like, I want a vehicle for me and Selena.
And Marty, sure, if he's... I know, right? That's a good... Yeah, he would say.
But it's so perfect. They're so perfect together. I mean, it's like this. It's like, I mean, that's one of the really special things about the show is like it's so heartwarming. Just like how I was thinking about that watching the show recently, and I was just like, oh, it's that sort of found family feeling where you're like, I don't know. It's so emotional and kind of
I
beautiful.
get emotional about it too. I honestly do. I can't talk about them. We're at the end of shooting season 5.
Yeah.
And I love them, each of them so much now.
Yeah.
And
you can see that in the show. You can see the way that you write it. Like, it looks so fun.
The show?
Yeah. Like, I know how hard it is. I know how hard making comedy is. And I get the feeling watching it that like, they're having the time of their lives, and it's like you make it that translates.
But what I see, honestly, thank you. That's so nice, and it is true. And we've hit a lovely meeting of the minds and the set is beautifully kind and lovely and stupid and funny.
Yeah.
So, but I recognize like what I love about your work, Liz Meriwether, like especially Dying for Sex to me. Like it's a miracle. Like to me, the sweetest spot is that thing. I like the laugh that happens when you're vulnerable and when you're real and human. And during the most sad situations, finding the connective laugh there will make me laugh in a way that like is the only way I want to laugh.
I think I just left Steve. Okay. I told him I don't want to die with him.
Oh, shit. Okay.
I want to die with you. But it's okay if you can't. If it's too much to...
Yeah, let's do it. Die with me.
It feels like a different kind of thing when you're laughing in the middle of sadness. It feels like, I don't know, therapy. It's like catharsis. It's like a big laugh to me that it's like an important laugh. To be able to like pull out a laugh out of like real tragedy is like great. And I agree. It's interesting because I went from being a playwright to writing a network sitcom, and I had never been in a room before. I was 29, and I was a playwright, and it was like suddenly I was managing 200 people and a writer's room full of people, and I had never been in a room before. So I listened to Tina Fey's book, like audio, and I was like,
You got. Well, Tina Fey should be so proud.
I just had no idea what I was doing. I didn't know how to write jokes. And it was because I'd always kind of written, I honestly didn't think of myself as a comedy writer. And I felt like LA was like, you're a comedy writer. And I was like, great. And so I wasn't a joke writer. And I spent 7 years on this show with like some of the most amazing joke writers that have gone on to work with you.
Yes.
It was always like, joke writing as a second language. It was always like, I wasn't quite like, it's not my native tongue, And I love it. And I'm like, a great joke is like so exciting. And I remember, like you just remember those nights in the writer's room, and then like, you're just sitting there and you're like tired. And then like somebody just says something, and it's like the whole room is dying, and it's like that thrill of like, we got it.
The stuff that I'm the most comfortable writing is that tonal mix of like, jokes kind of coming out of behavior and out of performance and out of like the moment, not necessarily like the words.
In a fanciful world, writing about murders that I've been in, that's one thing. But you managed this thing that like, when I saw it, and it's beautiful. When I saw it, I was like, how do you take this on? How do you do this? The approach that you made, and what was that approach? I don't know how you found, what made you say, yes, it's this podcast and it's this personal real life story that's so potent and so challenging in so many ways. But how did you find it? How did you lean in?
A friend of mine emailed me the podcast. I listened to it immediately. I was in the middle of doing The Dropout and Bless This Mess, which was like a farm comedy on ABC.
Yes.
And it was like, I was busy. It was right before COVID. And I just listened to the podcast, and it was one like sitting in my car in a parking garage, like crying and like, just kind of, it made me stop. Like, I was just like, those things that you read or see or think about where you're like, I just actually can't get this out of my head. I can't, it was just in there. And I was like, I have to do something with it. Maybe it was like also working on The Dropout. It's like, having spent like years working on like something about, somebody who doesn't have a lot of emotions. It was like, then it was just so emotional. And I think I was like really drawn to that too. And I hadn't written sex. I'd written a movie called No Strings Attached in 2011. And I just hadn't written any sex scenes or any sex or anything about sex kind of in a long time. And I was like, wow, I haven't done this. And it felt new and interesting. And then once I got into it, I was like, what have I done? This is so hard.
It's hard.
First of all, I mean, thank God for research. Like we had Nikki Boyer, who was incredible, who's Molly's best friend and is on the podcast. So we talked to her a lot. And then we spoke to, people in the BDSM community. We spoke to cancer patients. We spoke to caregivers. Like getting all of that, like, real information was really helpful. And I found recently that that's the thing that gives me confidence, is if I feel like I'm like writing from a real place. And our writer's room was great in that they kind of all had like really different.
Madeline George. My God, I love her so much.
Yes, that had a lot of like really different experiences and could kind of bring, just different real perspectives to it. But yeah, it was like a constant kind of like, I think I've said the word tone like,
I know, right?
If I had a nickel for every time I've said the word tone, but like it's just like trying to like communicate that. I feel like as a showrunner, your job is like to describe tone to everybody involved 100 times a day, you know?
Not
And
get panicked when you're looking at a monitor going, that's wrong.
I was on the set for my movie, No Strings Attached,
Oh, yeah.
with Natalie Portman. And she was shooting a scene. And I was like, I don't know why they let me be on set, but I had to be there the whole time. And I was like there because it's really rare for a screenwriter. And she came back behind the monitor and was like, Liz, can you not make the faces that you're making while I'm acting?
Oh my God.
She was like, no, she was amazing. It was like, she was so sweet. But it was like, I think I was just like, I was like,
You don't realize when you're watching people and what you're doing. People are watching me watching the thing. It's terrible. I forget it. The other
So
thing
I'm
I'll
not
do,
good at that. I'm not good at being behind a monitor and not making weird faces.
like the ugly face that you get caught up in when you're watching a really good actor do something, and it could be, and you lose yourself, and you know they're good, and you're ruining it. That's the key mark, the high water mark for a showrunner. Like,
sure.
that's my whole childhood in Ohio, by the way. But that's fascinating and but brave too, because I think
I have found that I like doing things that freak me
Scare.
out, that scare me. Yeah, I mean, I like also doing new things. You know, I think maybe because I was on New Girl for 7 years, and I mean, you're getting up there with season 5, but like, you know, it's a long running show. They're rare these days, but you really, you know, you get sort of locked in, and there's something amazing about that. But it's also like, you know, it can be a little bit like, it's like your whole world, and you're like, at a certain point in New Girl, I was like, I don't have any more stories to tell because all the stories that I could tell are about running TV shows.
yeah, I know.
I'm like,
What do
I don't have a life anymore. So
if I don't stop talking about Steve Martin, I'm gonna lose my mind. Yeah, exactly.
So I mean, I sort of came from a place where I was like,
Wasn't doing anything new really for 7 years. So I kind of have loved
Look
sort
what
of like
you've done, though.
doing
Like-
different things recently. Cause it's like, okay, I'm going to try to
the
do
dropout to New Girl to the Dropout to, I mean, that's an amazing, to Dying for Sex is amazing.
It's like it's a weird run. Yeah.
But I get it. I feel like I think you and I kind of in a good way, if I can make this presumption, but like I've always said I don't make any sense with my career, and like on a resume, it makes no sense. It's a little stupid. I find that encouraging for people who are trying to do this, or wanting to write or anything like that, and to do any of that. I just think there's no sense to any of it. But I think the bottom line is like, you know,
there isn't any sense to it.
No, there's no sense at all.
Yeah.
I think the way in which sort of it's only about the commitment to what like in your gut draws you. And then for me, as I was saying before, it's just like, if there's something that makes you feel like I feel like if I don't want anyone else to write that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Then I feel, okay, that means I'm leaning in.
That's interesting. Like sort of proprietary or like, it's mine. Yeah.
Like,
that's
I think that could go wrong in my mind. So that gives me, like, that is like the thing that says, oh, you're confident, which is rare, truthfully.
It's true. It's like when,
you know, it really
whenever
is.
you're confident enough to be like, it's mine, then you know.
I'm like, oh my God, I have to do it.
So rarely.
It never happens that I'm sure of something.
Yeah, no, I get it.
And I do think, and I think that's a good thing. So when you really have to commit to that, and like you have, but
can you talk to me about this latest season? Because it's so good, and like just the mix of tones in season 4 is so amazing. Like I'm just thinking about the like ashes on his hands and like the
that's so nice.
I mean, it's like this. It's doing so many things. I feel like I'm watching it and I'm like, you're playing with the form. It's like meta, but because I also don't love like very meta things.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
But like for some reason, it manages to pull off kind of a wink to the camera, but just full on emotion and like kind of taking on like loneliness and old age and love and like finding yourself late in life. And I don't know, like all these like really big, important things. And then, you know, it's like so stupid and silly in an amazing way. like in the middle of all of it, and this kind of like I don't know. I realize it's amazing the fact that you pulled it off. It's like so great.
Charles, are you okay?
What do you need? We're here.
What do I do? I can't wash her down the drain.
Maybe we could get a wipe.
Yes, a nice, respectful wipe.
Saz can't end up on a wipe.
Well, you could just leave them like that. Then you'd have permanent Saz hands. I'd like to take that one back.
Thank you. That's very nice, and that means a lot because I've rarely heard like that description makes me proud, and I do think because you're a writer, you can recognize stuff like that, so it means a lot. I think, and you picked the scene that got me probably the most in the last season, and season 4 was there was something very unique about writing and then shooting, and I was directing that episode too. Where
you
the first
directed
two,
that episode.
yeah, and it
amazing.
was
Okay.
Steve the way he played it,
It's incredible.
and he did many takes of it. But that idea of a friend having their hands in the ashes of their friend was the sweet spot in my mind. That sounds terrible. It's awful.
Yes, no.
It's an awful scene, and yet to me that the premise of what do I do?
Yeah.
I loved my friend.
Like we're talking about a joke, you have a setup, you have a punchline. And it's comfortable because you know where you're supposed to laugh.
Right.
But like that sequence, it's this beautiful thing of like, I don't know where I'm supposed to laugh. I'm laughing and then I'm like uncomfortable. Then I'm like very sad. Then I'm laughing again. You know, and like that is really great. Like that is like,
I don't know. I mean, obviously it's Steve Martin, so it's
That's it, you know, and that's where I get so lucky is that like with this show, it's been the case of, you know, you write things and you have hopes for it or something like that. And you're like, well, I don't know if it's going to work. And you don't know if it can be pulled off. And I genuinely bow down to these brilliant actors in this show because you really feel so grateful that the way they elevate is something that you couldn't see coming.
Oh my God.
And it happens over and over and over again. And they just take it beyond like in a way so elegantly. That's the thing with Steve and Marty particularly, and Selena too, because Selena has this sort of, she cuts them off in the knees.
The way that she was dealing with him in that sequence was so beautiful and quiet.
Yes.
And she's just like, okay, yeah. Like,
they were in it.
Yeah, you know, and it's...
Oh, and
like,
so nice to talk about that sequence, Liz. Thank you. That's very nice.
It's so good.
I would get bored.
Yeah.
And if I wasn't trying to do something a little bit, shake it up.
Yeah.
And I don't mean that like, that's why I do it, because I'd be bored. But because I can't be bored doing this show. But I also feel like it's that rare show where I have to step it up.
It is important. It's like, you're like, oh, I do bored or whatever. But it's like when you're working on a long running show, you do have to kind of keep pushing yourself. Because I think you are the first audience, right? Like you are, you know, you've seen every episode. But like, it's like, you have to keep kind of being like, does this feel like we're going into new territory? And like if you are bored, then you're like, well, the audience is going to be bored, so you do have to kind of keep listening to yourself in those situations. It's so hard having a long running show. It's like just say that it's so hard,
you know, and it is
keep it going.
I mean, it is the two things of checking yourself on every moment, like you're saying, in editing and everywhere through, and like you are going to be the one making the call about how long we're here and how to find that sweet spot of the joke, when to cut away, all of those things. That's one part. But tone has been from the beginning on the show something that was just like, they're either going to go with it or not. And I don't know if anyone's going to go with it, but somehow all the people who were making it, the studio and the network and everyone else said, sure, go ahead, do that. And that
I just
was
never
the
felt like you
part.
guys were ever playing it safe.
You know, it's like, there would be these swings, and sometimes I was like, what? but it's like, I would much rather like watch something that's like, he's like, no, I mean, I say that with like so much love, but it's like, you know, I'd much rather watch something with like big swings and kind of like, I don't know, than the safety, the sort of middle ground kind of safety. But, and like, that's what I think people love about the show too, is that you feel like you're on the edge of your seat in so many ways. You're like, where is this going?
How do you pick like what's next? How do you do like after?
Well, I'm doing a serial killer show.
You are?
I'm doing a case. Like I've thought about you constantly because I know so many of the people written on your show. But the other thing that the writers kind of always talk to me about is how hard it is to like tell the emotional story and the case.
Yeah.
And I was always like listening and kind of being like, yeah, that sounds really hard. And now I'm like in it. And
Welcome
it's
to my
so
hell.
hard. And I don't know how you guys, like, have you come up with any sort of solution to that? Like, do you figure out?
No, it's hell.
It's hell. Okay.
I've made myself a hell.
Yeah.
With this show.
So I like went into it kind of, I felt like it was in my bones because I'd seen so much of it. I think it's also when you're a comedy writer, I don't know, it's relaxing to watch those shows and not other comedies, I think.
Oh, yeah.
But then now that I'm in it, I'm like, it's not in my bones. I'm like learning how to do this every day.
What a pivot.
It's a pivot. I like a pivot.
That is
I'm in my
big
pivot. I'm in my
major
pivot era.
You are. That is not where I thought you were going to go, and I love that for you. That's very exciting because it really is. So do you recognize, like, what is this, like, thing that when you look at your work or anything like that, is there anything connecting to something very specific that inspired from your upbringing? It, like, feels very specifically you and you're alone based on those parents, based on the...
Super chill question.
Sorry.
I don't know. I think I've always been like, I felt like coming from the Midwest, going to New York, or I going to college. I went to college on the East Coast. Like just the feeling of kind of a little bit like you guys you don't understand me, or you're underestimating me, or like, I don't know. I feel like I've always had a little bit of like
that's a good fire.
A little bit of a fire in me. Yeah, I don't know where that
really healthy.
Like it's like I feel like there's that it's helpful when I'm really like stuck on something. Like, okay, I gotta somehow write about something that I feel like I can kind of only address. Like this is my way of addressing it, and I'm kind of angry about it, and it helps kind of get me going a little bit.
Yeah, I get that a lot. I understand that very, very well.
I feel like I have to like enter into some other realm a little bit and then I just like go. I don't know. It's not healthy, and I want to change the way that I write, but like I don't know if I will at this point. Yeah.
I agree with you though. I don't do people say it's procrastinating, but I can't write it until I'm ready to write it. Usually that's when I'm realizing I'm out of time.
Yeah.
But it is like torturous because I'm not writing, but it's sitting in my brain while I'm driving to Target.
It is always in my brain.
It's always going on, and like I don't have how that works and all that stuff.
I felt like the joke of like, oh, but I am actually working on it, even though I'm not working on it. Like I am though. Like it
is true.
I am constantly thinking. It's like the moment where you're washing the dishes, and then you're like, you know, like it's the thing about set. It's like you have to be safe. You have to feel like you can play. And sometimes that is not the moment where you're sitting in front of the laptop. It's like you have to kind of take yourself out and like go somewhere else in your mind. And
I do love that. Yeah. I love the feeling of writing when it's necessary and you've got it worked out enough, or the greatest feeling in the world. It's that realm you're talking about when you like lose yourself, you lose time, and you're just in that space. But I feel like those moments come from all of that time
that you spend
at the dishwashing or anything else. And because I can't just sit down and go, okay, this is the moment where the good stuff comes. It doesn't ever happen that way. It's so like, that's not going to work that way. So,
it's been so wonderful to talk to you. I love this.
Liz,
talking to you. You really are the nicest person.
Oh, thank you. You are the nicest person.
The writer.
We have many people in common, and that's the thing I would like. They're my favorite people. And honestly, I really mean that. Like, that's the thing. And I'm like, of course Madeline's in with Liz making that show because they're perfect together. And Kim, and you know, it's all like you gather up the best people. And you are better because of them, and they hopefully have, you know, we've all kind of come out of it okay.
Yeah.
That's all I care about doing, and like hanging on to those people and
Yeah.
trying to,
Yeah.
you know, keep everyone going
Yeah.
a little better. That's all.
You're great.
You're great, Liz. I feel you're a visionary.